So stair climbing is another skill that involves locomotion that is often not thought about as a skill, right? We kind of just ignore it or forget about it. And so if you have a family that has an infant that doesn't have stairs in their home or not in a place that they visit often, the kid may never get a chance to practice this skill. But it's a very important skill to learn. It involves problem solving. It stretches their limbs a little more. It gives them greater balance disturbance. And so there's some more problem solving that goes into that. So if you have kids when they're young, make sure if you don't have stairs in your home that you're finding places. If you go to the park, there's usually stairs on the playgrounds there, and you can give them opportunities to practice going up and down stairs. With stair climbing, we have to think about the Knowles model of constraints. So remember that's the individual, the task, and the environment. All of those three things affect how a child chooses to perform a skill and whether they're going to be successful, right? So if a child approaches some stairs and they don't know how to walk yet, then obviously they're going to try to crawl up the stairs. If they're used to scooting on their bottom, they're probably going to do it that way. If they're used to being on hands and knees, they're probably going to try it that way. If they have a rail available and they are able to have the ability to stand up supported, then they might use the rail to walk up the stairs. If they're able to walk freely then they're probably going to walk up the stairs. So what's available to them in the task and in the environment is going to, and what their ability is going to predict how they choose to go up the stairs. So I'm going to give you a set of videos to watch, and I want you to look for those things in those videos and tell me why you think the child chose to go up the stairs in the manner that they did based on the constraints of the task and environment. So in addition to learning to hold ourselves stable, and in addition to learning to move from one place to the other, we also learn how to interact with our environment. And so reach and grasp becomes important for that. I see an object, I want it, I have to reach out and grab it to bring it to me so that I can do that. So at about as early as 4 months, you see early phase 1 reach and grasp. And so this is really an inefficient method of reaching. So they just open and grab their hand constantly while reaching for an object. And if they miss, if they don't make corrections, if they are on the wrong path, or if they didn't reach the object at all, they'll start completely over with the reach and grasp until they get it right. Whereas in phase 2, they'll make those small corrections so that it's all one solid, smooth movement. In phase 1, they're only able to reach with one hand at a time, so there's no bi-manual coordination. In phase 2, you'll see two-handed reach and grasp as well. When phase 1, it's all visually initiated. I see an object and I'm reaching for it. By phase 2, they're able to use the senses of both vision and touch to make those small corrections to the movement. So with development of stability, we develop cephalocaudally, so from head to head down. With reach and grasp, we develop proximo-distally. So proximo means approximate, means near, and distal sounds like distant, that means far. So near to far, and when it's referring to is from the core. So from our trunk, from the center of our body outward. So if we're saying that reach and grasp develops from near to far, then we're going to develop the shoulder and elbow first, and then the wrist and hands, and then the fingers, right? So we learn to control the gross movement first, and then the fine movement as well. So just like with all the other skills, how a child chooses to perform reach and grasp and how they are successful also depends on constraints of the individual. Are they in phase 1 and phase 2? How big is the object? How soft is the object? How heavy is the object? All of those things affect the success of the child's performance. So eventually the child not only learns how to successfully reach and grab something, but also how much force is required to pick something up. So they learn to make predictions based on the size of an object, how an object looks. They should know how much it probably is going to weigh. And so they're able to successfully decide whether it needs to be a one-handed or a two-handed grasp, and whether we need to apply a lot of force or little force, right? Because if you apply too much force to a light object, you're going to break it. And if you apply not enough force to a heavy object, you're going to drop it. So by 12 months, they're able to remember how much weight an object was. So familiar objects they can pick up with the right amount of grasp. So they remember that on the last attempt, I applied enough or I didn't apply enough, and they're able to use that information to successfully guide the next movement. By 18 months, they're able to look at an object and make predictions. So, like for example, with this coffee mug, it looks like it's porcelain. That's probably heavy. So the shininess of the glass, maybe even just knowing that most coffee mugs are made out of the same material, they learn. Now, if they're introduced to a new coffee mug that has the shiny look, they should be able to predict that this coffee mug is about the same as the one they've had before. And so they're able to make predictions based on the look of an object, the size of an object, and relate it to something that they've done in the past. And that is the ability of accommodation and so assimilation, accommodation, and adaptation that we'll learn about in chapter 2. So be tuned for that. Then they develop bimanual control, and by that, think about a bicycle, 2 wheels. Bimanual is 2 hands. Manual is hands, right? Manual labor is working with your hands. So by 2, manual hands, 2 hands. Bimanual control. So at 4 and 5 months, they're really only able to handle one object at a time. If you hand them an object, they're going to drop the other one so that they can pick up the new object. By 6 to 8 months, they can pass the object to the other hand so that they can hold on to both the old object and grab the new object. 9 to 11 months, they may tuck an object in their armpit or set one down until they can move another one. But they're consciously thinking about the storage of the objects and not just releasing one to grab the other. And so it takes to 18 months to be able to perform a 2-handed task. So that's the development of the voluntary movements between 0 and 12 months of age, so the first year of life. And then we're going to learn about the other fundamental skills that develop kind of more after that point in the next unit.